This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast.
Never did I imagine when I made my first how to wear sunscreen video was it going to turn into me interviewing the Attorney General.
Welcome to Finish Lines and Milestones, a podcast for everyday runners. I'm your host, Allie Bretnacher, and if you run, you're a runner, and every runner has a story. Join me each week as I share these stories and we celebrate finish lines and milestones together. This week's episode is brought to you by Amazfit. Amazfit is a global smart wearable brand that designs smartwatches, fitness trackers, and health technology for active lifestyles. I personally started using their smartwatch, the Balance 2, and it has replaced both my Apple Watch and my Garmin. The battery life lasts a full 21 days. The only time I charge my watch is when I take a shower. I put it on the charger for a few minutes. I wear it all the time, to sleep even. And they also have a Helio ring that I am going to try, so I will report back on that. But they have a whole ecosystem of fitness trackers for all of your health tracking needs. One of the other great things about Amazfit is that they are very competitively priced. So, for example, my Balance 2 is $299. For competitive products, you might pay 2 or 3 times that for similar, if not the same, functionality. The Helio ring is only $150 compared to up to $500 for other competitors. So I really encourage you, if you are looking to upgrade your smartwatch, your Garmin, or any of your fitness tracking, that you take a look at Amazfit. You can go to amazfit.com, that's AMAZFIT.com, and use code ALLYB, ALLYB, for 10% off your order. Thank you so much, Amazfit, for supporting this podcast. Welcome to episode 150 of Finish Lines and Milestones. I am so honored to have Rob Perez as this week's guest to celebrate this special milestone. If you're new here because of Rob's incredible community, welcome. This podcast was created for the everyday runner, meaning anybody who's not a professional runner. Rob is probably borderline, but he has a 9-to-5 job, and he's also an incredible content creator and member of the running community and self-proclaimed happiest guy out there. He is also one of the kindest people I've ever met. You know, you never know what you're going to get on the internet, but I can attest to the fact that Rob is every bit as awesome in person as he is digitally. So I had the pleasure of meeting Rob at the 50th running of the Marine Corps Marathon last year in 2025. And what I realized was that I was late to the game in finding Rob. He has been around on TikTok and Instagram for a while now, but I found him through his government shutdown series. So he ran a mile every day that the government was shut down. And the Marine Corps Marathon just happened to be the 26th day. I cold DM'd Rob and told him I was pushing by myself for Ainsley's Angels. And I thought maybe, just maybe, he's not racing and he'd love to hang out. And spoiler alert, we ended up running the entire 26.2 miles together. I am so grateful not only for Rob's partnership during this race, but the fact that he was able to shed light on such an incredible cause and organization that is Ainsley's Angels. So if you want to learn more about Ainsley's Angels, you should go to ainsleysangels.org. You should also go check out the Together We Shall podcast, which is hosted by Rooster Rossiter, Ainsley's dad. You'll hear about my experience running with Rob. You'll hear about some of the crazy, incredible things that Rob has done that are running related, and get to know him personally as well. I am from Carmel, Indiana, which is a suburb of Indianapolis. So for the local listeners, there's ties to the Indy 500, and we are trying to get Rob to come run the Indy Mini one year, which goes around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But anyway, I'm really thrilled to have you all here. Thank you again, Rob, for doing this and for all that you do for the running community. And without further ado, Rob Perez. Enjoy. So here we are. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you so much for doing this. I am so excited to talk to you again.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been waiting for this. We planned this a long time ago.
We did. It feels like forever ago. Funny enough, went back to the DM that I sent you because I couldn't remember what I even said.
Oh, when you were just like, hey, I'll be it. Yeah.
Yeah. I just said, yeah, hey, if you see Team Melissa in hot pink, feel free to join us.
Yeah.
Not even thinking that you would reply, first of all, and then let alone that we would run the whole race together.
Yeah. Why not?
I guess. Yeah. So
Are you wearing an Ainsley shirt right now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at that. I should have worn mine. I should have thought about that.
On the back, you can see.
Oh, it's all the teams you've run with. Look at that.
Yes. Yeah. So Team Melissa is the most recent one.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I reached out to you, just cold DM. I saw that you were running every day for the government shutdown. That's how I found you on the internet, by the way. I was very late to the game now that I know more about you. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
okay.
I was going to say, I don't remember. Yeah. We never talked about that during the race of how you found me.
Right. It was the government shutdown stuff.
Wow.
I just thought, hey, this guy's running a shit ton of miles every day. Maybe he'll run a few with me.
Yeah. Why
and
not?
Ainsley's Angels. Why not? I was so scared because I had signed up to run alone. So when you said you would run a little bit with me, I was so grateful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I said, I listened to your, now after the fact, have listened to your Marine Corps marathon podcast. And I remember you telling me that morning that you were like nervous, but I'd never run with Ainsley's. I'd never run with you. I had never run with any organization other than Achilles. And so I didn't know that kind of the norm is usually 2 people, especially if you request that or if you prefer that. So when I learned all that after the fact, I was like, oh yeah, I guess now I get why she was so excited.
Yeah. I was like, thank goodness. And then we randomly ran into each other kind of walking to the start. You were so kind and offered to take a video for me. I was like trying to push and video myself walking to the start.
Yeah. That was kind of serendipitous.
It really was. And that, seeing you kind of put me at ease thinking, okay, maybe I will actually see him during the race. So yeah. And then all the miles. So I want to know from your standpoint, like, I don't know, you say yes to a stranger, you push for a little bit. Like, how did you decide that you would run the whole time? Because I was so scared, honestly, that I just I was like, be cool, don't be crazy. And so that he'll stay for a while.
Yeah. No, I think, and I kind of came to this realization. I mean, so Marine Corps is obviously later in the year. It's what, October? Usually by that point and by like fall race season, I have an idea of how I'm doing with my running goals for the year, how I'm doing for my mileage, how I'm doing for all things that have to do with, logging miles. And 2023 was a huge year for me where I was training to run from LA to Vegas. So 300 miles. And through that, I think by like April or May of 2023, I'd already logged like 22 marathons or something. And I hit my goal at the end of the year of 50 marathons. I actually finished it on December 30th or December 31st that year. So once I hit that goal, I was like, okay, doing the crazy miles and doing the, marathons and all that in a year, like that was fun. And then I was like, I want to focus on speed for 2024 and 2025. So I went and did my sub 3 hour marathons. I did my, Boston qualifying marathons. I kind of got that goal out of the way. And then come 2025, I was on pace for all my mileage goals and everything. And there really was no need for me to race Marine Corps. I'd already hit my qualifying time at other races. I was like, now it's kind of the time to share the running space or the running journey with whoever, however. I mean, I have people reach out all the time that ask me to pace them for races, that ask me to even just be out there for half of the race. And they're like, you don't have to run the whole thing. I just need the back half or the front half or whatever. So it's a very normal DM, I guess you could say, that I get, is like, hey, how can you help me hit my goal? And you just caught me at the right time where I was in a mood where I was like, yeah, why not? If there's other people who want to experience something, it just worked out. And I was like, I'm not doing anything else. I mean, it's DC, it's my city. I live here. I know every inch of that course because I think that was my 4th time running it. And it's like special. I know that there's going to be cheering the whole way, obviously partially from social media, but also just because I run with everyone in DC. And I have seen how Ainsley's Angels gets treated on the course, and they get so much love. And I was like, why not combine forces and just have a party of a day, which is exactly what it turned out to be.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, really, I guess to answer your question, I just wanted to share this space. Like, why not have more than one person be excited about and less nervous about a race day? I know nerves on race day, I'm at that point where I've done them plenty of times now. I don't really get those pre-race nerves anymore. So if I can help one more person out to eliminate that feeling, I'm on board.
Well, it took me a while still even to shake the nerves because I also wasn't sure how long you would stay. I was too afraid to be like, so are we just like running this whole thing together? Because I didn't want to, I don't know. I tried to let you off the hook, I think a couple times, to be like, well, if, when I see my family, if you want to go ahead, like it's totally fine.
No rush. I mean, it was more time on the course, which it's my favorite course because it's the hometown race.
Everybody knew you. Everybody on that course knew you. It felt like. So, and not only that, like you said, every inch of the course. So I felt like I also had a tour guide too. I remember being like, so where are we now? What is this? And
that's right. You're asking about like the neighborhoods and stuff. Yeah. I love it. I love it. It's really cool.
It was just so incredible. The whole experience because I never would have imagined that that's how it would have turned out. And then the level of visibility given your community that gave Ainsley's Angels is just so amazing. That really, thank you so much.
The number of messages after I got because people have seen me run with Achilles, which when I started that last year, we had like 2 or 3 athletes show up to practice, 3 or 4 guides show up to practice. And I guess for anyone listening that doesn't quite understand what Achilles is, it's a program that works with adaptive athletes. I think their most common adaptive athlete they work with is visually impaired or, blind, but they work with everyone. That's kind of a misconception that also when I joined them, I learned about and I immediately wanted to squash. They work with people with traumatic brain injuries. Any reason that makes fitness one bit more of a challenge for you. Achilles is willing to work with. And so when I did that community blew up. I think I've gone to a practice recently and we had something like 8 athletes and 20 guides, and half of the people came up to me there and were like, I found it through you. I didn't know you could do this in your city. And there's, I don't know, it's like 47 chapters worldwide or something. So it's always done something that impacts beyond just our Marine Corps marathon that we ran. And that happened for Ainsley's Angels too. So many people reached out and were like, how did you do that? And I'm like, I'm kind of an off case because Allie reached out to me, but I was like, it's a very easy channel to get into.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also met a few other teams, I think, around the city before even.
Yeah, just running around
before the race. Yeah.
Doing government shutdown miles actually is how I ran into plenty of other people who mentioned that they were going to be out there on the course pushing. So yeah,
because you literally ran 26 miles. That was day 26, happened to be Marine Corps, which is kind of funny
which
too.
Which was awesome that it lined up so perfectly.
And then back to Achilles really quick, when you say practice, what do you mean?
We do Wednesdays. We do a training session where athletes come and we have a meeting point that's pretty easy to get to via public transit or however the athletes want to get around. And we train on the National Mall. So we go out there and we're all in our bright green shirts, and the shirt either says like blind athlete or guide or something, and it just to make people around and aware that you're working with someone that obviously can't see that you're right in front of them or that they're right in front of you. So we do that on Wednesdays, and then Saturdays we also do another workout. And again, it's runners, walkers, joggers. We have gear available to hand cycle. We have, I forget the name of the bike, but it's basically like a 4-wheeled bike or a 3-wheeled bike, so that if like motor skills or balance is an issue for you, that's something that they can accommodate and still get you out there and train and ride.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that. Is that all year round, or is it like in season?
Year round. The bikes take a little bit of a break in the winter because it gets so dark out, and the bikes, because they're so low to the ground, it provides more of a danger than anything else. So they take a break when it's too dark out, but everything else we're on year round.
And how did you find Achilles?
Just at the races. I race all the time. I'm at all these races, and there's always these people. They're tethered to each other, and clearly someone is helping the other person, and it just made me curious more than anything else. And then their shirts all say, go Achilles, go Achilles. So right. I Googled, Achilles running marathon races, guiding athletes, and it pops up Achilles International Foundation.
Wow. Well, I found Ainsley's Angels similar way. I saw that a friend of mine had done a race with them.
Oh, I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
And I originally thought you had to know somebody who was going to be in the chariot, like a family member, to push.
Right.
But that was completely wrong.
Yeah.
And anybody can lend their legs. You don't even have to run necessarily. You could walk a 5K with them if you wanted to. And so once I found that out, I was like, well, I'm absolutely going to do that, because I'm not quite to your level because you run all the races and a lot of miles, but I do a lot of races throughout the year, and I just looking for ways to do them differently. Like if I'm not going to be racing for a time, how else can I experience the race? So I've also dabbled in pacing as well, but I think Ainsley's Angels is probably my favorite way to race. It's just
it was a cool day. It was a unique perspective on the race. Obviously, it's a little more work on the body, which is always a little bit of a challenge. But I think my favorite part, I don't know your agenda for this call, but I'm going to spoil that pushing up the hill at the end and kind of splitting the weight of the final infamous Marine Corps Marathon finish line hill, which is like 400 yards. You do like a quarter mile straight up somehow, and that's what they end you on. So many people fall out at that time, but that was really cool to kind of finish that together and then get our medals and get Melissa a medal as well.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was so incredible. And actually, I don't know if you remember this, I ran into my friend Jill on that hill.
Yeah, on the hill.
It was wild. Like,
I remember that.
How does that happen?
Yeah.
Some of the other things I remember were, a couple of times you got fireball.
Maybe.
So So do people know that that's like something you want? Because it seemed like, I mean, people were like here, like literally like waiting. It felt like they were like waiting to hand it to you.
I think I have created an environment where people understand that if they have a shot waiting for me, I will participate.
Oh my gosh. What is the most you think you've done in a race?
In a race? Oh, I mean, maybe I actually think Marine Corps was probably the most. I mean, which was what I think it was like 3 different shots. I mean, it's nothing crazy,
which is, well, for me, I'm like,
yeah, no, it's good. It opens up the lungs. You get that little bit of a burn. It's great. I think it's beneficial. I'm no scientist, but it's advantageous.
One of the other favorite memories I have is everybody who said something to you, you would just say, thank you for the support. And I don't know, for whatever reason, you could tell that you're actually a really wonderful human. Because I think you see somebody on the internet, you have no idea if that's truly who that person is. And so I felt really lucky that I got to like see how you interact with the community around you and just how many people would come up to you and be like, oh my gosh, you inspire me, or I like love watching your stuff. And you would say, thank you for the support. And I told you, I felt like I was running with my version of running with Harry Styles, which you got a kick of. But I was like, really, I'm running with a famous person, it felt like. And so it was really great.
I'm appreciative. I mean, especially on race day, that's a crazy time to, some of these people are in their first marathon, they're 20 miles in and they have the capacity to like speed up and catch up to us or slow down and wait a second and say hello and kind of share their story with me. That's one of my favorite things, whether it's a DM or meeting someone out randomly at the city or when I'm at a bar and someone comes up to me, like, I don't care what the environment is that I meet you in. I love when people come and share their success, especially if it was something that I was able to help inspire. That's always so cool. And then in return, I mean, it's not always all about followers, but that's what they do is they follow back and they engage with my content and kind of help me grow as a content creator and as a runner as well. And it's always so cool to hear those stories.
Yeah, there were a lot of them. I mean, literally, I was trying to, if I had to estimate like how many people, I don't even think I could. It was probably well over 100.
It was awesome. It was really amazing. So I embarrassingly had words of encouragement playing out loud. Do you remember that? Oh yeah, that's right. I was like, the app. Yeah. This app. Great app, by the way. Run with, it is incredible. And that was the first time. People actually message me that now and ask for me to leave them a message for their races, which I never thought of. Right. But happy to do it. If anyone's listening, you need some encouragement at whatever mile of your race. So send me your link. I will do it. It's so funny. Yeah. I just remember a couple of them being pretty funny. And other than that, like just, my kids and stuff. It was nice to have them play, but I didn't really think about the miles where it got quiet. And then it's just playing out loud and you're like, okay, well, this is a little weird, but here we are. Whatever. Like, it was entertaining. A message in the Pentagon parking lot. Like you can't beat that. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It was so great. There were also a couple other teams, I think there was one woman from Achilles that you saw, that you knew, who had done a race like overseas. Do you remember who I'm talking about? Yeah. Who was that? I wish I could remember her name. Well, was she in a hand cycle? She was hand cycling. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Allison. Yeah, she's one of the first people I ever got to work with for cycling because I signed up for Achilles to run, but you got to adapt. And so I showed up to practice one day and our lead, James, was like, we don't have anyone to cycle with Allison. And I was like, oh, like I can hop on my bike. I can hop on one of the bikes that we have in the truck, down to do whatever, which one gave me a really interesting perspective on the city and how accessible a city actually is. Even the bike paths and stuff really makes you think and appreciate how easy it is to get around. And so that was a really cool thing that I got to learn. But yeah, Allison, she was newer to Achilles also, and she's been crushing it. She just did 2 other races that I know of, and she just found out that she is pregnant. So she did them both while pregnant. And now, What? Yeah, she's a badass. Yeah, I'll say. And then there was some sort of French team. Do you remember them? Yeah. Weren't they carrying somebody? It was like a one-wheel cycle thing. Yeah. They in Chamonix, it was the craziest thing. I was out there crewing my friend and it's a 100K race. And I think they had a team of like 18 crew members. I mean, you have to, but during parts of the trail where a wheel doesn't work, they hoisted the guy up on their shoulders and 6-man carried him. But the cool thing is, like, if you're on that crew, you're still running 100K. There's just portions of it where you're pushing or carrying or doing something. And that it always makes me think, like, And have I really challenged myself? Like, is running a sub-3 marathon or running 50 marathons in a year that hard, or should I be just doing something like that? And so, which again, kind of ties into Ainsley's or Achilles, is like, it's even more challenging. I was telling someone else, I have a good friend, Erwin, who I normally, he's my like main runner that I guide for Achilles. He is fast, and guiding at pace, thankfully, because of social media, I talk to a camera while running all the time, and I have conversational pace. But Erwin forces me to talk the whole time because you are their eyes. So you are talking left, right, push left, push left, push left. We're making a right turn. Watch out for like pothole, high knees, all these different little commands that you end up talking for 3 hours straight. On top of that, you have to not only get your nutrition, you need to get their nutrition. They don't know, where the hands are being held out with water and stuff. So you're doubling up on nutrition. Sometimes the nutrition's on the opposite side of where you are. So you have to switch sides with your runner, which is crossing behind your runner is always kind of a dangerous episode during the race.
Right.
And you're trying to do that all while also maintaining 360-degree awareness. And I mean this in the most positive way. It is mentally draining to guide a full race. I guided Erwin through a New York City Marathon, which incredible race, obviously. But with that, you get way more noise. You get super tight streets at some points. When you're going through Brooklyn, the street goes down to like 6 people wide, but we take up 3.5 people's width because of the tether, because of we need room to kind of bounce around between the lanes. So, and there are people out there that get frustrated that we are in the way, but they don't fully understand that we're obviously working through some extra challenges that they're not working through. Yeah.
And also point out the fact that it was like, the next weekend you went to New York?
It was the very next weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. Cause it was Chicago, Marine Corps, Baltimore, New York, back to back to back. I did 4 marathons in 4 weeks, all with the government shutdown miles too.
Yeah. I was glad when I saw that you were like, okay, I'm done with the shutdown miles. I was like, thank goodness, because with a full-time job, people may not know you have a true 9 to 5 career that you manage on top of everything else that you're doing. Yeah. And so I couldn't believe how you were getting in those miles to begin with.
Yeah, it was, my schedule at that point was, my biggest week was, I think I did 168 miles in a week. It was wake up at 5 a.m., finish editing the video from the day before, set it to post at 8 a.m. so people could basically have their like morning news of like what is going on in the government shutdown. Then at like 6:30, I would have breakfast. I would do 45 minutes of reading the news and headlines and figuring out what was I going to talk about for today's video. Run to work. At one point I had to split up the miles because I was running up more than a marathon a day. Run to work, which was like 7 to 10 miles of running, and then get off at 5, run home. That would be another 7 to 10 miles. And then I would eat, study some more, go film my video, and then finish off the miles. And when I got home, it was 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, straight into editing, not even straight to bed. I had to eat more. I was, burning 5,000 calories per day, every single day, which was crazy. I lost 10 pounds in the last 2 weeks of the challenge.
Jeez. Yeah. You can't eat enough.
And to be clear, I don't lose weight like that ever.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So that was not sustainable.
I had a lot of people become my mother in my DMs and were like, so when are you stopping?
Right. Well, and you're like, I could do this. Like physically, this is not that challenging.
Yeah, I wanted to push for the full 40 days, but it would have dwindled down to about 3 hours of sleep per night. And that's just, it's irresponsible because I do work a very serious 9 to 5 job. And, I happen to actually work for the government. So it was something where I'm like, there's sacrifices that can be made, but that wasn't worth it. So decided to cut it back a little early, but it introduced me to you. So here we are.
Yeah, right. Here we are. Yay. And also during the race, we found out that we knew a couple people in common because you had done the speed project, which again, I didn't know going into the race that you had done that. And not only had you done the Santa Monica to Vegas, but you did one in Chile as well.
Yeah.
And then oh God, like I listened to these podcasts after meeting you, Rob, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's nuts. But you knew Cameron Balzer, you met out at TSP, which is so cool. And people listening who are local to Indiana who might know Cam, like he ran around the perimeter of the United States.
Yeah. 11,000 miles.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And now he's going for the fastest known time across the United States. So, but it was so cool to know that you had met him and his crew out there and done that race at the same time.
Yeah. They were epic. Super cool guy.
Yeah. And the whole idea of the speed project and the whole like unsanctioned type of race. I guess, could you maybe just talk a little bit about that? And how did you get into doing that?
Yeah, that was back in that 2023, like 50 marathons in a year thing.
Yeah.
One of the run clubs that I run with out here in DC, Northeast Track Club, they had done that race, the relay version of that race the year before. So I was tracking it, looked pretty cool. And then this whole thing of like, well, people are now they're opening it up to solo runners. That became an option, I guess you could say. And when that became an option, I was immediately interested. Now, mind you, at the time, my longest race was a 50 miler. I did the JFK 50 miler the previous couple of years. It's one of my favorite 50 milers in the US. And so I kicked around the idea, and then I reached out to the leader of my track club and was like, hey, how do I get into that? How do I, and she's like, it's an application. You got to put in a little information and we'll back you. We obviously support you, and you put a team together. You got to raise some money because it's truly unsupported. You don't get anything. They give you a start time and a start location, and they give you a finish line, and there's no rules. There's no route. It's honor system. One of their sayings is that there's no spectators, and that's, partially because no one cares kind of thing. Like when I won the Chile race, there's no one at the finish line. You finish. It's your own journey. Yes, we technically won and did it the fastest, but that was it. It was just me, myself, and my thoughts to celebrate. There was no, confetti cannons. There was no tape to break through. It was just
no fireball.
You get to sleep in a warm bed that night. That was all it was. There was beer.
Oh
we
my
had plenty
gosh.
of beer at the finish. Don't you worry.
That's good. Thank goodness.
Yeah. So that's kind of the premise of the race. And that, like you said, that's where I met Cameron, but I was just intrigued by the idea. So I did another JFK 50 miler. From there, I got accepted into the race, into the speed project. And once I got accepted, I was like, time to kind of lock in. And that's where I started doing Friday. I'd get home from work and I would go run 20 to 25 miles. And then I'd go out at night. I love running on tired legs. That's, I think, like, if you want to feel what it feels like to run an ultra marathon, do your normal long run on a Friday after work, which, by the way, drags already. Then go out, dance all night, have drinks, get 3 hours of sleep, and then wake up and join your regular Saturday long run crew. And that is the most realistic thing to what it actually feels like to run those races. And so I did that almost every weekend. I was logging 40 and 50 mile weekends. And then during the week, I was doing another 30 to 40 miles, outside of work, which was incredible. So got to the race. I brought me and 6 of my best friends, and we hopped in an RV. And one of my buddies, he has a really nice off-road truck, because we knew we were going to take one little shortcut that required an off-road vehicle. Finished the race and did it for completion. We were not racing that one, but I got the bug. And that's when, that same year, the founder of the race, Nils, was like, we're doing the same thing, but in Chile, in the driest desert in the world. And I was like, that sounds like a whole nother level. And so I put my name in, did the application, did the same thing. And he's like, you made it in, so come do it. And same thing, was going for completion, because this is just brutal. I mean, the UV index, the scale tips out at 13. It's from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. It is at 13 the whole day. I did not see one cloud the entire time I was in Chile, in the desert, I should say. And you start at sea level, and we climbed up to, I think it was 12,000 feet or 11,000 feet at one point. It's through the Andes Mountains. Part of the course is through the Andes Mountains. So you're just out there in the middle of nowhere. And there's only one road in and out. It's this one highway where it's a shipping, they call it like a shipping lane, but it's cargo trucks. That's all it is. It's semis. It's a 2-lane highway, one going each way, and you're just on the side of it, and there's nothing else. And you do that I did it for 3.5 days straight, and you don't hit your first actual town until about 200 miles in. So we had to pack out a truck with the ice. Thankfully made it. We had enough ice to get us through those first 3 days, but ice, food, we slept on the side of the road. We bought tents and we bought like sleeping pads and all that. And it was just pointless because we were only sleeping for 90 minutes a night. So we just pitched a sleeping bag out, slept in it. It's 20 degrees at night and it's 100 degrees during the day. So the swing is incredible. I mean, I was going to sleep in my full winter get up. I would wake up, just walk the first mile or two to kind of shake everything off. And by the time I was at the end of my walk, it was time to strip off all my layers and be back in shorts and a t-shirt.
Crazy.
It's Mars out there. It's one of the most fond memories I have is because it's all sand in every direction. Sound attenuation is just like, there's no sound. There's nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean, even if I take a step in my living room right here, there's a little bit of an echo. I'm talking, imagine taking a step and you basically don't hear it. There is just nothing, and there's no life out there. There's not even, people would go, but what about like tumbleweeds every now and then? There's no plants out there to die and become tumbleweeds. There is nothing for as far as you can see. Yeah. So to say the least, it was the craziest experience of my life. And then on top of that, we won it. I had Chalo and Parley and two incredible human beings. Parley, I met her kind of through the internet. Met her at the Boston Marathon briefly, and then I put out a feeler because I was like, who can come pace me for Chile? Who can come support?
Right.
And she said, I'll do it only if I get to run almost all of it with you, which I didn't know her that well. So I didn't know her background. She's an Olympic trials qualifier. She's super fast. I ran 292 miles, I think, and she ran 260 something of them with me. And those 30 miles that she was off is not because she needed a break. It's because she needed to cook food. Chalo was my driver and content and photo guy. And so she was responsible for anytime I needed a meal, having it prepped at the next point that we decided to stop. So if not, she probably would have ran the whole race with me. She went back the following year and won the following year. So
she did? I didn't realize that. That's really cool.
Yeah, she went back and won it the following year.
Well deserved, because I feel like how, somewhat selfless to like run almost that whole race and not truly be a finisher of the race, I guess, right?
Yeah, they actually gave her the same medal that they give to the relay participants.
Oh, good.
Because she didn't technically run the whole thing solo, but like in everyone's mind that after the post-race party, everyone was like, they were going up to her and being like, is it true you ran basically all of it? And she was like, yeah, like that's just, I wanted to do that. I wanted to experience it. And then I think what's even crazier is to know the conditions and to see how traumatic essentially that race is. And then she goes, yeah, I'll be back next year. I want to do it on my own.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, and not to mention, Rob, you almost got eaten by dogs.
Oh yeah. I had a pack of eight dogs come and check me out. They thought I was gonna be a little midnight snack, and in between hallucinations, thankfully I had enough in me to fend them off and keep them at bay. And then a random car out of nowhere pulled up and honked at him and revved the engine until I was able to separate enough from them. And then they left me alone and went back to wherever they were hanging out in their dwelling. Yeah, it was
absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. That should be your experience. Felt like when I was listening to, I can't remember which podcast it was, The Drop or Just in Stride. Those are the two I listened to.
Oh yeah.
But it was like, this is a movie. This is ridiculous. I cannot believe that people do this. I also find it fascinating that you ran your first ultra marathon before you ran a marathon.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm former military, former submariner. So my life has always been in a boat that's designed to sink and be underwater. And, when you get off of the boat, you just really enjoy the outdoors and sunlight and things. And so I was in a little running community in Norfolk, Virginia, and someone had mentioned, hey, we live not that far from some incredible trail racing. It's, 2-hour drive out into the Shenandoah Valley. This race particularly was out by Blacksburg near Virginia Tech. Beautiful area. And I found out there's this 50K. It's called the Eastern Divide Ultra. I think the race still exists today. It's really cool. But the coolest part about it is, and this is like, when people ask me like, what's the difference between ultra and trail running versus New York City Marathon? First of all, when you finish a trail ultra, people don't really ask, what was your time? They ask like, how long does that take? Because they're imagining it's a whole day or a half day versus you finish, a world major and everyone's like, how'd you do? What time did you finish in? Right. Yeah. The competitive edge is there. So that's the first big difference. The second big difference is just the energy around it. You show up to a trail ultra, people are in jorts and collared shirts and big sun hats because you're going to be outside for the next 12 hours in direct sunlight. It's like super functional runners. They focus on functioning properly as a runner and not so much like how cool and how fast can I go. But then it really set in when I got to the first aid station, which was at mile 4 of that race. You do a 2,000-foot climb. It's you're like walking on an incline. Okay. And you get up to the top and you can hear the banjos in the distance. And it's a group of people who they get up there on ATVs, on little quads. And all your options are bacon, bourbon, and beer. That's your first aid station. Mind you, you just climb 2,000 feet straight up and your calves and your back and everything are on fire. And the nutrition they have for you is Jim Beam, bacon, and some super shitty beer. An elite combo in my book, but that was truly, and they're ripping on banjos. They don't care. They're not handing it to you either. It's just a table of all these things mixed together, like whatever order you want it in. So had the bacon, had the shot, and then washed it all down with the beer and got on my way,
Moved on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then I was like, that was a 50K. And then I think my first marathon was Richmond Marathon a year later. I stuck to trail race. I love being in the woods. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Okay, the other thing I wanted to ask you about was back to like Indiana connections. So you mentioned being a submariner. The name of your submarine, ironically, was Indiana, right?
The USS Indiana. Yeah, I helped commission it. It was the newest boat at the time.
Yeah, I love that. Also about the submarine, there's a treadmill on the submarine, which I thought was wild. Like, how could you run on a treadmill while in a submarine?
Yeah, I mean, and the best way I explain that to people is it's submarines they're underwater planes. They operate the same, right? They have like little rudders and planes and things that just like when you do takeoff on a plane, you get kind of pushed back into your seat. And just like when you take a turn, you kind of feel that bank and like G-force of the turn. We have the same thing. But the difference is on a plane, you can look out the window and your brain can actually process, oh, we're turning, oh, we're going up, we're going down. So your legs can prepare for that and you can kind of balance yourself out, right? On a submarine, there's no windows. So, and even if there was, you would just be looking at pitch black water. So the hard part about it is you're on this treadmill and all of a sudden it feels like someone is raising the incline on the treadmill, like someone's hitting the button on you, but it's actually because the boat is doing something. And actually, I believe our treadmill faced aft. So it was the opposite. If the boat was driving upwards, you'd actually be running on a downhill facing backwards. But just like planes, there's like turbulence, I guess you could say, depending. And then if you're at a shallower depth, you still get currents, you still get waves. So you're actively running and kind of swaying a little bit still. So it makes it not easy to do, but it is possible.
Yeah. Did you ever fall off? I feel like I would fall off.
No, I mean, you just grab on or completely stop your workout and, go do something else. We have a rower as well. And not a Peloton, but a stationary bike.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a little bit easier to stay onto. 4 points of contact. So.
Right. Totally. So I Googled if there was a world record for the fastest underwater marathon, because you had mentioned that. And there's not that I can find. So
yeah, I wonder if they would allow a submarine to count, or because I'm sure you could just go build a little thing into a pool, or if there's, I guess maybe Death Valley counts because it's below sea level.
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what the caveat would have to be, but maybe I just do the one for like fastest in a submersible ship.
Yeah, which would be nuts. And then it makes me wonder if there's any private planes that have treadmills in them.
Oh, there has to be.
Yeah, like that's what I would want.
My buddy Brooks, you may have seen him if you've ever seen this company, Earthy. It's like mud water, but way better. I hate that he actually uses that comparison that it's mud water, and like mud water, it looks terrible.
I don't know what is that?
It's like a coffee alternative. So it's got like the healthy mushrooms and ashwagandha and all those things. He made one that tastes like hot chocolate. It is so good. But the way when he advertised it, he'd be like, it's mud water, but better. And I'm like, mud water looks like dirt. So it's like, I don't know, better, how good it's better, But anyways, he was doing like a marathon a day to help raise awareness for his company and creating content around it. At one point, him and his wife had to move across the country or did a move at some point. They had like a little mini walking pad treadmill that they put in the back of the truck.
Oh.
So she could drive, because they were driving all day. And so he could actually knock out miles.
Wow.
While he was driving. And it was the most chaotic scene. Like there were little video snippets of it. And it's him basically holding on for dear life and trying to get.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'll have to go look that up. That's wild. I didn't think about that either. Yeah. And like an RV. That'd be nice for those cross country trips for sure. And then back to Indiana connections. You're from Chicago originally.
Yep. Yeah. Northwest suburbs of Chicago.
And I remember you told me that you've been to the Indy 500 before.
Absolutely. Yeah, big racing family, big race car fan, still love racing. I raced go-karts. I love it. I love some open wheel, not NASCAR. Sorry. NASCAR is not real racing.
That's okay. We don't care in Indiana. We're like, okay.
Open wheel racing, definitely.
Yeah. And so racing go-karts, you had mentioned that you had raced IndyCar drivers.
Yeah.
Or people who became IndyCar drivers. So I just thought that for the people who are listening who are from Indiana, they would appreciate.
I have raced the Rahal family.
Oh my God. That's
Graham.
amazing.
And then the youngest Andretti, Marco. I want to say it was Marco. It may have been one generation earlier. I'm mixing up all the Andrettis. And then
there's a lot of them.
Josef Newgarden, who I believe has won the Indy 500.
Yeah.
I've raced him. And there's one race specifically, which was actually at South Bend. There's a racetrack in South Bend, MRP, or it was called MRP at the time. But there was a rain race, and a couple of those people who were slated to like win the race spun out and crashed. And I just simply finished the race. So technically I have beaten them.
It's
my one claim to fame. I've beaten Indy 500 winners in an automotive sport, but How it happened doesn't matter.
It does not matter at all.
Yeah.
It happened. It is a true statement. That's
Exactly.
so crazy. How do you start racing go-karts? It seems like a random
Yeah, it's a
thing.
better question for my dad. I didn't know. It's one of those things that if you ever watch when they do like the ESPN 30 for 30 on some driver, they cover that story. They're like, how did it happen? And like, oh, my dad took me to the track and we realized you can grow up racing these little go-karts. They're now, I think you can start, I want to say 3 years old. I think you're supposed to wait till like 4 or 5, but
Oh my
there are kids who are like
gosh.
3 and 4 years old that they give you a little, it's like a 50cc. I mean, the engine's this big. It's a little 50cc engine. They get up to like 45 miles an hour and these kids race. They
Wow.
are very talented drivers, especially at like the national level. I mean, that's where they start. I mean, you race your whole life. I started when I think I was 11, but my dad, we went and watched because we would go to the Milwaukee Mile every year. We'd go to Road America. We would go to the Indy 500. And he one year goes, hey, there's a go-kart track like 2 hours away. It's actually the same go-kart track that Danica Patrick started racing at when she was a kid. So really cool tie there.
Mhm.
She actually signed my helmet one year, but
Oh.
we went to the race, and at the end of the weekend, we watched racing all these kids who looked like me and are my age and are my height and my size. And my dad goes, do you want to try that? And I thought he was just kind of like asking for fun, like,
Right.
And then a couple of weeks later, I come home and he opens the garage and there's this like used go-kart and very minimal parts. And it's like when you get your first bicycle, you're just like,
Mhm.
you don't know how everything works yet. You don't know how to do everything, but you just kind of show up to the track. And race car driving is actually another one of those sports that at the entry level, it's not competitive. I mean, it is competitive in the fact that there's a winner, but everyone wants to help everyone. My first ever race, I got out there and immediately one of the other dads looked at our go-kart and was like, you have to change the gearing on it's because it's a single gear. There's no shifting or anything. It's a very basic setup. But the dad was like, for this track, that gear is going to be terrible. You're going to burn your motor out. It's going to cost money. You're not going to get any speed. Super helpful guy.
Yeah. Wow.
But that's just what you learn. You learn those things. And my dad learned little by little and we kept racing. I think I raced for like 5 years. I got to the regional level and that's when I started racing the big names. And then came high school and the decision had to be made, live kind of a more normal 15-year-old, 16-year-old life and play high school sports because racing is a Friday through Sunday event. My dad would pick me up after school on Friday. You practice on Friday, race on Sunday, or race on Saturday, race on Sunday. Like it's your weekends are gone for 20 weekends out of the year. So he was like that or high school sports. And I was, craving a little social life. So went the high school sports route. And now I just run all day long.
Yeah. Right. Was your family athletic? Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have a sister. No, I mean, I would say my dad is probably the most athletic. My mom played basketball. I'm the worst basketball player ever. So
me too.
Didn't get that from her. But yeah, my dad, he was a swimmer. He still runs now. Yeah, he's out there always doing something. So I think I just grew up in the suburbs of Chicago that like all my neighbors and all my friends, it's all we wanted to do. We wanted to be on our bikes. We wanted to be shooting hoops, even though I was terrible. I did all the sports growing up, t-ball, you did it all. I love a sport. And now that running is kind of the main thing, it seems so silly because it's arguably the easiest, there's the least amount of skill involved. But after now where I'm at now, I'm like, oh, there's actually a lot that goes into running.
True. Yes, very much so.
Which and I'm 33 now. It took 33 years to like fully figure out.
Yeah, I'm definitely still learning a lot. Did you mention volleyball when you were talking about
volleyball.
sports?
Yeah, that was my main sport. Yeah, I don't know how I forgot that one. Yeah, I played football in high school and volleyball. And volleyball was I was like, I'm going to college for that and pro athlete. And there isn't really a professional league. I probably should have thought about that before I started pursuing that. But so like Texas, California, and then Illinois are like some of the only states at the time that had men's volleyball, competitive men's volleyball. A lot of schools have them as like intramural, but Illinois is a very competitive volleyball state.
I had no idea. Well, that's kind of a good segue into how you got into the military because you wanted to be special forces. Is that right? Quick break in the show to tell you about another sponsor of this podcast, Cure Hydration. Cure is a plant-based hydrating electrolyte drink mix with no added sugar. A natural, delicious, and convenient way to keep you hydrated without the artificial stuff. I don't know about you, but I can only drink so much plain water, and I need to stay hydrated with all of the running and working out that I do. Cure is a great way to make plain water more exciting. My favorite flavor is probably the berry pomegranate, but they also have flavors like watermelon, lemonade, and they also have options for kids. So things like fruit punch and pink lemonade, not only keeping you hydrated, but your whole family hydrated as well. They come in convenient hydration packs that you can throw in your gym bag, your laptop bag, your backpack, wherever, to make sure that you stay hydrated on the go. Staying hydrated isn't just about water. You also need electrolytes. That's why my family loves Cure. It is clean and tastes great. You can grab Cure on Amazon or find a store near you at curehydration.com/AllieB. That's ALLYB. You can use code AllieB for 20% off of your first order. Real ingredients, real hydration. Thank you so much, Cure, for supporting this podcast. Now, back to Rob. Well, that's kind of a good segue into how you got into the military, because you wanted to be special forces. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or what,
anything.
is that the right term?
Yeah, special warfare, special forces, any of those.
Yeah.
I joined 2013. I walked into the recruiting office and the guy was like, "What do you want to do?" It was the Navy recruiter. Or he's like, "How can I help you?" And I'm like, "I think I want to join the military. I don't know." Mind you, I dropped out of college at this point. I was doing sales. I just kind of was living a day-to-day rinse and repeat Midwest life. And finally I was like, I got to get out of here. And so the recruiter goes, why do you want to join the military? And I didn't really have an answer. And I was like, I don't know. I think I want to live on the coast or get out of the Midwest, I would say, is probably my biggest answer. And he goes, "Well, let me tell you, you join the Navy, you're going to live by water." And I was like, that's so genius. And so I signed the paperwork more or less right there. I actually texted, my mother hates this story, but I texted her.
Oh,
and I was like, "Hey, Mom," I was like, "I need your social, your maiden name. I need this, I need that." And she was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "It's just for my background check to start the process to join the military." And she was like, "This is more like a in-person conversation, not a text." So she was not thrilled. But fast forward 9 years, after 9 years of service, I texted her when I was getting out, and I let her know, like, "Hey, Mom, don't worry, I'm out of the military. I'm safe and sound."
Thanks for the text, Rob.
Yeah, she loved it. So the way the military works, you sign a contract typically of some form of a job. You can sign a contract to do special warfare directly, but because so many people want to try out, it's like a 1.5 year wait. I would do training for 1.5 years on my own time and work my own job, and there'd be another 1.5 years in Chicago. And I was like, I don't want that. And he goes, "Well, if you join a job that is a little more needy, they'll get you in quicker, and then you join from there." And so I said, "All right, that sounds good. What's quick?" And he goes, "Well, I'm a submariner, and I just looked up submarine contracts, and you qualify for one that would be leaving in 3 weeks." And I'm like, "Perfect, I'm in."
What?
So I sign it, I get to boot camp, and they are like, "All right, who here wants to try out for, special operations, special forces?" And I was like, "Me, please, right here." And they're like, "What's your job? What's your current contract?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know, some submarine computer electronics or something. I don't actually fully know, nor do I care." And they're like, "Oh, that's actually one of the jobs that right now has a waiver in. You're actually not even allowed to try out for special operations because no one wants to do submarines. So you have to stick it out." And my heart sank at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Well, when do I get to try out later?" And they said, "Well, you'll finish this, you'll go to school, you'll finish all your schooling with the military," which in my job, because it's very specialized, was about 1.5 years. So boot camp, then 1.5 years of schooling, and then you have to do 2 years at your first boat, and then you can request. And the day I hit 2 years at my boat, I requested, and my captain immediately turned it down and said, "You're too valuable here. We need you here." So I said, "Well, when can I try again?" And they said, when you get done and you go to your shore duty or your shore command, you can try out there again. So tried out, or I didn't try out, but I put in a package to try out at year 6 of the military, and it got denied again. And so I gave up and said, "Well, I got 3 more years on my contract. I'll just finish out my 9 years." I ended up in DC. That was my last duty station. That's how I ended up here. And I stuck it out. And I said, "All right, I'll stay here." So I love it. That's how I ended up in DC.
Wow. Okay. So how long have you been in DC now?
Now I've been in DC. I got out of the military 4 years ago. So I've been in DC for about 8 years total. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. And the next thing I wanted to ask you about was the transition to creating as part of running.
Yeah.
Because how long did you run until you were like, "Oh, I should start creating content about this"? And how did that start?
That was all actually from training for Speed Project. I was logging tons of I was running constantly. My friends were all like, "Yep, Rob's running again," And again, I wasn't a creator at that time. So it was just my friends who actually know me were just like, "Yep, he's out training, he's out running." And a lot of them would join me and a lot of them supported me. And it was just a fun, silly thing to do. It was like, "All right, let's go run a bunch of miles on the weekend." And I had groups of friends that we could knock out a 20 miler. And go get beers after. And that's like what we did. It was really cool, but did a bunch of training. And then finally, like people were asking me how training was going. I'm giving them all these tips. And finally I was like, maybe I should just make some silly videos. And super basic. I often go back and watch my first one from 2023, and the editing is horrendous. And there's so many pauses that I'm like, why did I leave a whole half second of just me heavy breathing? Like, it's terrible. But I also was kind of like, I don't care. You got to start somewhere. And then keep making videos. And then I had my first kind of, I want to say viral, but mind you, at the time I had my 1,500 followers, which was all my friends and people I actually knew. I had my first video hit like 15,000 views. And I was like, oh, so it's hitting strangers' platforms. And the video was, I love sun protection and sunscreen, and I always wear it. And I mentioned how, I think the video was, I was like, wear a hat, wear sunglasses, and then only put the sunscreen up to your cheekbones. Do not rub it on your forehead or near your eye. I was like, people always make that mistake. And it was it was a 20-second video where I basically said that. It was like, that's my biggest tip for summer running in the heat. Because the second you start crying and your eyes burn, it's all over. That's like demoralizing on a run. And then I did another video about how I wear sunglasses even when it's shady out because of like rain and stuff, the little pellets like in your eyes. I just did all these simple things that like I don't think about. I run so much. I was like, whatever. And people in the comments were like, wait, that's genius. Why did I never think to just not put sunscreen on my forehead and instead wear a hat? And it was small things like that people started following me and being like, oh, you know a ton that like us newer runners don't know. So it started kind of as running specific. Then it started growing gradually and started kind of working with brands. And then things like the government shutdown popped up, things like my company step challenge at work, which turned into Stepgate, was this whole thing. All these just kept like series after series kept turning into people being to relate and connect to it. And then I got better at editing finally and actually downloaded some actual editing software and started kind of pouring time into it. And it blew up. And now I'm, super grateful for, as you mentioned at the beginning, anyone that supports me is always so cool, but I'm also just, I get excited. It's fun to create videos. And I pinch myself and laugh all the time when I'm like, I just made a stupid little video and like people are getting joy out of it. Not that I would expect them not to, but I'm like, this is so fun. What a fun thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you'll be at 200,000 followers on Instagram is where I spend most of my time. Yeah. But what I also didn't know about you, Rob, was the fact that you were like TikTok famous with your mustache, which I have never seen. I had never seen. I had no idea that you had this like majestic mustache back in the day.
That was the personality. That was the, that was it. That was like, there was my friends actually who crewed me for Speed Project. They made, I'll call it like a Finsta or a fan account. They made a fake Instagram. And it was
my gosh,
Bobby Bigote, and Bigote is mustache in Spanish. It was my alter ego. And they would just get clips where I didn't even know that they were recording. And it was me curling it, twisting it, and photos of it, up close photos of it. Just they went all in on the mustache and made it like the mustache is running the race, not Rob. It's Bobby Bigote is running this race, and they're all 5 years younger than me. So they did very like Gen Z, trendy TikToks, and people started following that. And I was like, this has gotten out of hand. So I still don't have access to that. The account still exists.
Okay. I need to go find that.
Well, they'll log in and comment on certain videos as Bobby Bigote. So which makes it look like I'm talking to myself. And I always have to remind people that like, I'm not engaging with my own content on my own fake Instagram. I don't have the time.
Right. Right. Yes. That's funny. So will you ever bring the mustache back?
I don't think so. And the one reason is I actually did hate grooming it.
It's a lot of work, I feel like, right?
Well, because it got long enough to the point where I had to put product in it. If not, I look like a walrus. It's just this wiry thing that hangs over, because it was so long, it hangs over your mouth. Like it's in the way. And it's mustache hair. So it's not like soft and combable. It's gross.
Yeah.
So will I have it again? Probably not. But the other part of that is the mustache was kind of like a fight the power. I just got out of the military. I have been living by a clean shaven face and extreme rules for the last 9 years of my life. The mustache was kind of a time to let it go. And it just happened to line up with when I started creating content and running all these big ultra marathons. And like I said, ultra marathoners are kind of quirky. They wear collared shirts, they wear jorts, they wear things that you're like, why is that? That cannot be what you are seriously running in. And so the mustache kind of worked out perfect. Like, oh, let's have this really inconvenient facial hair and make it happen.
Yeah. And you got a government job with that mustache, I'm assuming, right?
I actually think I can't show you my badge, but yeah, my badge still has the original photo
That's
on
great.
it. Yeah, it was funny. And when I shaved it at work, everyone kind of lost their mind. It was a whole thing.
I bet. I mean, yeah, I bet.
I would
And the
say
internet
first
probably.
3 months. Oh, the first 3 months I would be, again, because at this point I did have a following and people recognize me in DC all the time. But this time specifically, I actually had people coming up to me going, there's this guy on Instagram. He does all this crazy runs. He has this wild mustache. You look exactly like him.
Oh, that's funny.
And I was like, that's me. I just shaved it a week ago. But that happened for like 3 months. Because, some people obviously don't keep up with social media.
Right. It's hard. I mean,
Yeah. And so some people just, they're like, there's this guy. Yeah, that's me. I'm the guy who you're referring to.
Yeah, I'm the guy. So, okay, no mustache, which I feel like that's fair. It lived its life. And I'm sure your friends are still repurposing that content, I hope.
Yeah, there's videos of me in places that probably shouldn't be, but we'll be, we'll get to it.
And then bigote, you are half Mexican, right?
Yeah, Mexican. Yeah.
I remember you speaking Spanish during the race and being like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? Like not knowing.
Oh, did I speak Spanish during the race?
Yes, there was a run club that was there and I don't remember the name of it.
Cafecito y perreo, which translates to coffee and twerking.
That's right. I forgot about that fun fact, actually. Yeah. So
They're
that's
awesome.
how I realized that you spoke Spanish. I still didn't realize your heritage, but did you just grow up speaking Spanish then, I would assume?
No, and I'm not fluent, but 90% of that side of my family is still in Mexico. So,
oh, wow.
I used to go twice a year growing up. And then same thing, once high school came around, it got harder to do that. But because of that, I grew up around real Spanish. It wasn't like I was in school in Spanish class learning verb conjugations and all the boring parts of Spanish. But I was learning all the bad words and how to have the accent in Mexico. And that's what truly shines through and, allows you to fit in, when you're around other Spanish speakers. So I'm not fluent, but you wouldn't know that if you catch me in conversation.
Right. Well, yeah, you've got the accent down, I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm on, I don't know what day it is today, maybe 327, let's call it, of my Spanish streak.
Duolingo?
Okay. But I am the worst because I don't like speaking it, which is the only way to really practice and learn. My vocabulary is pretty extensive in terms of like words I know.
Sure.
But yeah, I've got to find a way to practice more so that I can actually learn it, because that would be a life goal of mine, is to be able to speak Spanish.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be fluent. I mean, I think this is true of any language. And I recognize this. I have family in Denmark as well. And
oh, interesting.
So I'm going to categorize all Americans in this, unfortunately, but I think Americans obviously are like, hey, we speak English. This is kind of what we do. And I've been fortunate enough to travel all over the world for work, for personal, for everything. And something I always see is it's typically the Americans that walk in and don't understand why a restaurant doesn't have an English menu or doesn't cater to them. And I'm like, when have you seen a restaurant in the US have a Spanish menu or any other language? I'm like, that's such a weird and wild request. And then people always say like, oh, it's the most spoken language. And I'm like, no, always try. And I guarantee if you went to Mexico and even just tried your basics, the locals would appreciate you so much more versus just simply speaking English, even though they probably do speak English. Yeah. I'm currently learning Japanese. I'm on Duolingo for Japanese right now.
Oh, cool.
Because I got to go to the World Athletics Championships last year. And I wanted to be able to converse with anyone. And it was cool obviously I learned how to order a beer. That's the first thing I typically learn. And then the second thing I learned is where's the bathroom, because the two go hand in hand. So
yeah, absolutely.
Walked into a tiny little bar. I was with a bunch of my running friends and other people, creators and stuff. And I ordered my beer and I told the bartender that my beer was super tasty. And I introduced myself and gave him my name. And my friends were like, wait a second, what are you doing? And the guy was so cool about it. The bartender he loved it. And then he started rattling things off in Japanese back to me. And I was like, you lost me,
You're like, that's all I got.
Yep.
That's really cool, though.
I think the basics is anytime I fly to a new country, I'm on the airplane. I use half of the Wi-Fi on the airplane to just look up what are the top 20 basic sayings, and I YouTube it because learning the slang version of it makes you more of a local than the Duolingo version, which is the formal, like, hello, Mr. So-and-so. It is great to meet you this evening. And like, no one talks like that. So, it's good to learn the slang versions too.
It seems like Duolingo needs that version of it, that level. Maybe people would pay more for it if that were the case.
Well, just like a switch. Like I want to put on like, what is the formal way and I want to learn both. Put them side by side. They're not crazy different, but
Yeah, absolutely. Have you run any races in Mexico?
No, there's a big push for that this year, or this year or next year. I would love to run Mexico City Marathon. I mean, it's, again, my family's all still there. I think that'd be super cool. Also, the elevation, something I've never dealt with before. Well, I have in like ultras, but that's an ultra where I'm going 10 to 12 minutes per mile and not pushing 7-minute miles. So don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but yeah, I think Mexico City's at 7,500 feet. And that's, it's not a ton, but it's also not sea level, which is what I'm at now. So
totally. Yeah.
I want to go see how that affects it. I know tons of people and runners go to Denver to train. I know I had a couple friends who actually went to Mexico City to train for a summer leading up to their big races. So I know they have a really cool running community there. Chalo, who was my photographer at Speed Project when we won in Chile, he's from Mexico City and he's really tied in there. He's a super talented photographer and videographer and runner. And he goes back to Mexico City all the time to run that race. And I'm like, I'll be there soon.
What time of year is that race?
This is why I haven't run it, because I haven't actually looked into the planning.
Oh,
I don't know.
There you go. I have no idea, but I'll be there someday.
Yeah. I'll make it.
I believe you. You will. Absolutely. I mean, it could be next week and you'd be like, you know what, actually sounds great.
Yeah.
But for your government job, you mentioned as we were like getting on to the technology that you don't work remote. So are you ever able to work remote for your job?
Not really. We're in office just because we kind of have to be all of our equipment and technology. I'm a kind of a hands-on technical job. You can't do that from home. You gotta be at work to do those things. So I am grateful they are able to do support sometimes, like a half day or full day of telework every now and then, especially if there's a lot of administrative work to catch up on. So I do get to do that every now and then. But yeah, it's fully in office and a whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the way to do Mexico City, it'd be like, well, go down there for a couple weeks. If you could work remote, obviously you don't have unlimited
that would be the
PTO.
dream. And because the time zone's only an hour off. So
right.
It wouldn't be that crazy. It's not like I'm going to Europe where now I got to work at 3 in the morning to make it for US time. So.
Yeah. Right. So you went to the World Athletic Championships. That's nuts. I'm assuming that's through a brand partner of yours. Like what kinds of opportunities have opened up for you as part of your content creator side?
It started out super basic again, because my content was running central. Shoe brands wanted me to do reviews. Companies send gear all the time and want you to try it. It's everything. Anything you can hold that has to do with running, some brand always wants to send it to you and pay you to highlight their product. Nutrition as well, which is super cool. And I obviously always appreciate those partnerships, because one thing I stay true to is I only work with brands. The rule is they have to send me the product ahead of time. If I've never worked with them or used their product, I'm trying it. Sure, it costs them a couple dollars to send me some stuff. If I don't love it, I don't work with them. I have a management team now who helps control and filter that. They know what I like and what I don't like. But the other part is when I get opportunities to work with brands that I love, like I'm a big Asics guy on the shoes. I'm a huge Adidas guy. And then they reached out to do some races, and I got to run the Boston Marathon with Adidas last year. And I'm not making up a story. I don't have to be like, I love their shoe and I don't actually love their shoe.
Right.
No, I was like, wait, no, that's actually my race day shoe. I was like, and they're like, do you mind making a video about this? Here's our guidelines and parameters. I was like, no, I don't mind at all. That's the shoe I was going to race in anyways.
Right. You're like, actually, I already have a video that I made because I just love it. Yeah. That's great.
So that was a shoe-in, if you will.
Huh.
Yeah. Sorry. I had to. I think
loved it.
It's led to more now. So I'm not going to name any names, but I have a bunch of, after my government shutdown series, I have a bunch of people on Capitol Hill that want to work with me. I'm trying to do a series that involves a little bit of movement. So one of the biggest reasons the shutdown series did so well was it was nonpartisan. It was purely teaching. I was teaching how the government works. It was like Schoolhouse Rock. Like it was just, here's the basics. Here's what you need to know. And that worked out really, really well. The thing that came from it, though, is there are experts in that field. There are people who are on different parts of committees and organizations and groups that work at the Capitol every day. And that is, I say they're 9 to 5. It's really their 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. job is to be an expert of whatever program or whatever area of the government. And so all those people who some of them are senators, members of Congress, representatives that are reaching out and saying, we would love to go on a little run with you and talk about the government, talk about things. And I always fire back and I'm like, I'm down. It's not going to be to rip the other party apart, whatever side you're on. And that's the other thing is I want to run with both sides. And it's been cool. There's more coming from that soon. But I have some very well-known senators that are really eager to go on a walk, go on a bike ride. There's some of these senators are big cyclists. I had no idea.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a couple, I guess these are all hints, but there's a couple that bike to work every day. And, when they live in
Okay.
DC, they ride a bike to work and they want to go on, do a cycle and do, an interview while cycling, which is kind of disarming in a sense, because you see them in a suit all the time and you see them on Capitol Hill
Right.
giving their political speech. And that's when you turn the TV off or YouTube or whatever you're streaming it on. You're like, it's the same jargon, it's the same song and dance. But when you see your favorite senator or least favorite senator out there dripping in sweat and breathing heavily as they're running with ultramarathoner Rob and he's interviewing them, it puts them at the disadvantage. I'm disadvantaged from my lack of knowledge, which allows me to ask very simple and basic questions and get good context to what's going on in the government. And it gives them the opportunity to be outside of their comfort zone and work with me.
Yeah.
I think one of the pinch me moments I had was I work with the DC's, the mayor's office pretty often, or try to. And then the Attorney General of DC, Brian Schwab, he's a big pickleball guy. Yeah. Okay. And he was like, can we do an interview while playing pickleball? And I happened to, and by the way, this call happens on a Sunday morning. He's like, when can you schedule a call? And I'm like, my schedule is at 6 a.m. It was during the government shutdown. I was like, I am 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. right now. So I really can't, but a Sunday morning would work best before I run. 8 a.m. I'm in my pajamas. He's in his pajamas. And he's in his office. I'm in my apartment. You get the same view he got, but he's got all of his law books behind him. He's got all of his DC swag and memorabilia. And he's just in his pajamas shooting the shit with me. And I'm like, this is so cool. Never did I imagine when I made my first how to wear sunscreen video, was it going to turn into me interviewing the Attorney General and trying to understand DC home rule and why we're not the 51st state and things like that. And that's what the conversation was about. And then the offer to go play pickleball.
Oh my gosh. Have you played pickleball yet with him?
Yeah, I played pickleball. I actually happen to have played that week at a separate event, unrelated, but I did get to play. And then that he was like, we should play. And I was like, I got a paddle. It's right over there. I'm ready.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so there's going to be some fun things coming down the pipeline. I'm really trying to manage it to be, again, I don't want to add to the political noise that exists currently. I want it to be something where you get something out of it and you don't want to turn it off, which I'm sure all journalists want to do. But the running or cycling or pickleball adds an aspect to that.
Right. Where it's, to your point, it's disarming and it doesn't feel manufactured as much as something you might, I'm
not going in a suit to the Capitol and interviewing them in a sit-down, perfectly lit, in their office environment.
You should wear a suit up top and your running shorts and shoes at the bottom. That would be funny.
That's high quality idea right there.
Yeah, there you go. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I would get a kick out of that for sure.
Yeah, I might have to consider that.
Oh man. Okay. Well, the last question I have for you before we're going to get to the end of the podcast stuff is just about, with all you're doing and all the running that you do, I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but how do you avoid burnout and being just completely tired of it?
Great question. I appreciate this question because I think I love sharing this answer. That's why I love this question. I get to share this answer every time. There's a couple things. I do get that question. I also get the how do you not get injured? How do you log a 2,000 mile year with 0 injuries? 2 parts. One, you have to love it, I think, is the most generic way I can say it. You have to love running. And I'm not like, you have to love running and care about it more than everyone else around you. No, what I mean is whatever started you running, for some people it's weight loss, for some people it's therapeutic, for other people it's a social thing where they look forward to the beers after the run more than the actual run itself. Whatever that was that started you in running, remember that, channel that, and stay in that lane. One thing that I struggle with, and I'm actually doing a video about this week, is content now is so focused on performance optimization. How can we get faster? How can you get better? How can you run more races? What are the tips and tricks to get into New York City Marathon every single year? How do you get into this race? How do you run your first ultra marathon? That's all great. I love that people do those videos. The part that it is I almost want to call it tone deaf. And the part that's missing is the part where they explain you still got to love the sport at the end of the day. You still got to put your running shoes on and not hate the fact that you're about to go on a run. A run should never feel like a chore. Sure, when the weather's shitty out or whatever, I understand when it feels like a chore. I have those days too, which, contrary to popular belief. But you have to love the sport for whatever your reason is. And this applies to not just running. If anyone happens to be listening and they're a cyclist or they're a thru hiker on the AT and they're like, I have burnout from this. I'm like, well, why did you get on the AT in the first place? Was it a challenge? Are you at a challenging point? Great. You accomplished your goal. Then you're at a challenging point. You should be thriving right now. That I think is the most important part. And sometimes you need a break. I'm like, do this, go and do no running and go watch social media and see all your friends having those beers that you look forward to and going out and running all the races and going to all the after parties. It's going to light a fire in you. You're going to come back and come back even harder and love it even more. I'm on a break right now, technically, partially because I'm in the gym a ton and training for some other high rocks and other sports. But last week, I think I logged 5 or 6 miles. And this week I'm at 0 miles for the week. So I don't hate running any less. I love it. I can't wait to get outside. The snow is melting finally.
Yeah.
I can't wait, but now's not the time. I'm not in the mood to run, so I'm not going to run. There's no rush. There's plenty of miles to be had. So yeah, love the sport. Love it. Maintain that positive relationship with it. The second you find something dragging you away from that, eliminate it. If it's canceling a race or transferring a bib of some race that you feel undertrained for and you transfer it to a friend, that's fine. Your friend will love it. Your friend will absolutely. I just got transferred a cherry blossom bib today for someone who can't make the travel out here. I got so fired up. Yeah. I was like, I want to run right now. I'm so ready. So love the sport. And then as far as like burnout, injury, that aspect of it, I just did a video on this about recovery. Recovery is not, my favorite question is, how do you foam roll? How do you stretch? How do you massage gun? Do you use those compression boot things? How do you keep your legs so ready to run? And I'm like, I don't own or do any of those things. Well, I do have a massage gun, but I'm like, I don't do any of those things. I do them because they feel good for like 3 minutes at a time when I stretch, but that's about it. It's sleep. It's sleep and it's food. I eat all day. And I explain this in the video a little more in depth, but your muscles, your joints, your tendons, your whatever. I'm no doctor, by the way, if you're listening. I have a high school education. As I mentioned, I dropped out of college twice. But the basic common sense of it is when you work your body really hard and you go on a long run or a fast run or anything, and soreness is your nervous system's reaction to micro tears in your muscles. When people don't realize when you get strong and big and bulky, that's because you tear your muscles. And then when they repair thicker so that they can be better prepared to not tear next time. That's how your body works. To fuel that repair, you need protein, you need carbs, you need all the things that you hear people talk about all the time and tracking macros and all that. I don't track macros, but I know if I run 22 miles, I need to eat more than the days where I run 2 miles. Again, at this point, I think it's common sense, but some people don't. You have to have more electrolytes going through your system. You sweat naturally all day long, but you sweat a lot more when it's a DC summer and it's 100 degrees out and 98% humidity. You need to replace 2,000, 3,000 grams. I'm using generic numbers. Everyone go get a sweat test if you want to know how much salt you lose. But you need to replace what you lose. And then if you want to grow and build on that, you need to replace even more and add on top of that. I learned that's another thing that took me. And then sleep, again, you need that. I'm not going to speak on that though, because I sleep like 4 hours a night.
I know. I was like,
I am not,
don't need as much sleep.
I am the leading example for that. But you have to sleep. And that's another one that people just, I don't want to say they don't realize it. They don't actually listen to that advice. They're like, oh, you do the 4-hour thing. You're fine. No, your body does the rebuilding of the muscles when it's in those deep sleep phases or whatever, REM, all those things. That's when the body repairs. If you drink and you eat late and stuff, which again, I do. I'm not the spitting image for what you should and shouldn't do. But if you do all those things, the body can't sleep properly and you don't repair yourself. I don't sleep a ton, but like race week or of a big race or a race that I'm pushing really hard, I actually do. I'm in bed by 9 or 10. And the night before a race, especially, I'm actually in bed early. It's the one time I do it, but I like to go in feeling super fresh. And that's it. Recovery is food, maintaining a positive relationship with the sport, and sleeping. It's not stretching. It's not foam rolling. It's not watching someone go live your highlight real life on Instagram and getting inspiration from that. I mean, get inspiration from it, but it's your personal relationship with the sport.
Yeah. I also just feel like everybody is so incredibly different, and you get sucked into seeing what people say, get on the internet, and that may or may not work for you. Like people who ask like what shoes they should have. I'm like, well, go get fitted.
Yes.
Because people, right?
Oh, it's my favorite. I mean, that's another series I'm working on is I'm going to make like an FAQ series because I think weekly I get DM'd about what's my favorite shoe. And I get another thing I get DM'd about is like, what's my magic meals that I eat? And I'm like, there isn't one. It's, what do you like to eat? What do you like to eat that has more protein than normal? Great. Eat more of that. You like it already. That shouldn't take any extra effort out of you. I'm not forcing something down your throat. Same with the shoes, same with everything. Yeah. So I plan on doing something like that too soon. And I'm going to just pin it on my page. So if anyone says, I'll be like, please refer to the FAQ section on my page.
Yes. Here you go. How many DMs would you say that you get a day on average?
It depends on how trending my videos are going, but like government shutdown, I was waking up with 50 to 100 DMs. A lot of government workers just simply saying thank you. A lot of people asking me and giving me topic ideas. A lot of people doing a lot of things. Right now, I probably wake up with like 10 to 20, or I say wake up. Throughout the day, I get 10 to 20 kind of like new random DMs from people. I answer all of them, by the way. And
Thank you. I'm so glad you do.
yeah, I answer all of them. Well, when the time people spend scrolling and doom scrolling, I usually am doing DMs. So when like my timer says I'm on Instagram 4 hours a day, but 3 of those hours are me answering DMs or actually creating the content or actually organizing my page or something. And then 1 hour is me doing my own doom scrolling. But yeah, it sounds like a crazy number, but when you create content full time or, do it as much as I do,
right.
it's a very normal number. Yeah. I love a DM. I love questions. I love being able to give guidance where I can. I don't answer any medical, nutrition. I have zero coaching credibility. I am the worst person to ask for coaching advice. And I'm definitely not telling you what shoe you should wear. I'm going to tell you to go get fitted. So I answer those DMs still, though.
Okay. And what about the trolls? Do you get any of that at all? I'm sure you have to get a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you do, especially when I do the more political stuff. Obviously, you get trolls. I would say that something I'm always grateful for, and I'm going to kind of toot my own horn for a second, is, and I appreciate you said at the beginning, like you get to watch me interact with these people. I bring positive content to the internet. If you don't have something nice to say, keep it to yourself. I do that. I don't complain a lot. I don't use the internet for that space. I don't want to put content out that is maybe helpful, but I have to be negative in it. I don't like that. It just doesn't feel right for me. My bio says I'm the happiest guy out there. I don't want to have a video of me bitching while also being the happiest guy out there. It just doesn't sit well with me. So yeah, so I enjoy just positive spins on just about everything. And because of that, I don't really get trolls. I get some of the nicest messages that I almost want to, and I'm talking long. Hey, I just had one the other day. Obviously not going to name names, but someone was, hey, my dad this year was diagnosed with MS. He's a fitness guru. I had to like learn and figure out how can we do this. And then she goes, and then I realized, wait, I follow this guy who does this thing with Achilles and they work with adaptive athletes. Later, she finds out MS is one of the things that is a reason that Achilles will work with you. So not only did she get her dad into now being able to enjoy fitness again, she is an Achilles guide now. So it was like a double whammy. And like,
wow,
it's things like that I'm like, how can I be upset about anything I put on the internet? Like how can you troll me on something like that? And again, I'm not the guy to toot my own horn, but I'm like, how can you troll someone that spreads that kind of information or positivity? So yeah, it's the internet for me has been a glorious place. The other part of that though, is I recognize I'm a white man in a space that is predominantly white men, and run by white men. So I'm going to always get less trolls. I have plenty of women who are creators who are maybe not white. And I see how much trolling they get. And they're just as positive as me. So it's something that I'm not blind to, that I have an advantage in this space. Yeah, not a ton of trolls.
Yeah, well, good. Not a ton. You do, because I would fight them off because you're so kind and positive. Okay, I'm going to ask you the end of the podcast questions before my kids.
I meant to review these because I know you do end a podcast. All right.
There's just 2 and they're easy. And the first one I like know the answer because you put it out there. The first one is, what's your favorite running song or like hype song if you don't listen to music? Or mantra, if you're running mantra.
Oh, is that the one you know the answer to?
Or maybe, I think I do.
I don't know.
Maybe I don't.
Maybe I...
Would you like me to tell you what I...
Yeah, what is your answer? Because I don't know if it's the same.
Okay.
Yeah, now I'm curious.
Well, and this could be outdated, but I like it a lot. Having fun, go get some miles.
Oh, yeah, I would say that.
I feel like go get some miles is good. Like, go get some miles.
When I first started creating content, I was like, you got to have a tagline. You got to be known as the guy that says something. So every video I would end with, have some fun, go get some miles. But I was doing just running videos. It's hard to like go talk about the status of our government while on a run and talk about how it's been shut down and people aren't getting paid for the last month. And then be like, have some fun, go get some miles. So I have since dropped that tagline. But I think a big focus for me this year, I mentioned I'm training for some more like fitness-based things that are related and not running related. So I saw something the other day that was like outlift the runners and outrun the lifters. I've been really enjoying that. I just want to be a little faster than the lifters and I just want to be a little stronger than the runners. And then I actually saw a t-shirt or a meme that was like, outlift the runners, outrun the lifters, outdrink the alcoholics. And I was like, all right, now we have completed the
Now we're talking.
Yeah, I was like, that's really good.
Funny.
No, I always enjoy, I think one of my favorite ones is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with people or go with someone. All of my big races that we've talked about on today's podcast, all were with a support crew. Even when you and I ran, right? Like, sure, we were supporting Melissa, but you saw DC supported us. They pushed us to the finish line. Everyone was there. They were rooting for Melissa. They were rooting for both of us. Like, I've never felt alone on a race. I've never even felt alone at this point on any run that I go do. Because if I run on the National Mall, our most popular portion to run in DC, I always get a like, go Rob, love your stuff, love your content. You know, I get those every single day. And it's I don't mean to say that sound like they're annoying. I mean that in like every day I feel supported. Every day I get to go a little bit further because I got this awesome support crew behind me, and it's awesome. So yeah, I like to go. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with someone.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then the next one is, what is your next finish line or milestone? It's a race week for you this week.
It is race week, yeah. It's a good, and it's not a typical race. I'm racing up 94 floors of the Hancock building, skyscraper race. They do exist. They're really cool. This one raises money. I did a charity bid for Respiratory Health Association, which the irony is obviously a lot of firefighters go and do this race. So respiratory health is a big thing in the firefighting community. That is an ongoing battle with the amount of smoke inhalation that these 20 and 30 year firefighters deal with. And then you look back at all the things during 9/11, all the blowback now of those firefighters and the lung issues they're dealing with from being in Manhattan, inhaling ash for 48 hours straight, it seems like. So really cool organization, but I'm doing a race with them. I'm going to try to PR it. I'm try to go sub 15 with them. So that's sub 15 minute. I've done it 2 or 3 times now. Every time I've been in the 15s, but I have access to a Stairmaster this year. So I actually trained. So I'm hoping to go sub 15.
Oh, that has to make a difference.
But I'm also 15 pounds heavier because I put on some muscle. So it's a give and take, you know?
That's true. Yeah.
But I think like big picture this year, I'm getting back into my ultra. I told you 2023 was all ultras. I did 2 300-mile races. 2024 was all about speed. Now that I built all that volume in the ultra world, I went back to road racing and did my sub 3-hour Boston qualifying marathons. 2025, I started sharing my running journey with Achilles and with Ainsley's. And now 2026, I think I'm going to grind it out. I think this is going to be my biggest mileage year. I say that as I ran 0 miles this week so far. I'm excited to get back. I'm going to do my first 100-miler. I think that's the biggest mental block I have. I've never run 100 miles in a day. I've obviously done 300-mile races, but I haven't run in 24 hours 100 miles. I have run back-to-back 90-plus mile days. I have run 94 miles in a single day, and that was at the 24-hour mark. I'm this close. And, you know, it's not one of those goals you can just train overnight. That will be 4 to 6 months of training just to give it one good try and hopefully hit the goal and potentially miss it. So it's going to be a long-term, big picture goal, but I'm excited to go crush miles all year long now that it's above 0 degrees and there's not ice everywhere.
Right. At least not this week.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's going to rain all week, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. And then you're also doing rock and roll in DC because I'm going to be there for that too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I will be out there for that and Cherry Blossom. So I'll be at all the DC races.
Yeah, we've got my brother and sister-in-law live out there. And my brother-in-law actually is a runner. He does the JFK 50 miler. He's done it the last 2 or 3 years. So anyway, so it's fun to be able to go see them and do a race because they're into it as well. And then I've got to get you to come to the Indy Mini. I know you're doing the Pittsburgh Marathon this year.
It's the same weekend, right? Yeah. But no, I'll come to the Indy. I have a couple of friends that did it last year. They love it. And you finish on the track? Yeah?
No, you used to back in the day, but you run around the track. I know that would be really cool.
But you organizer on the phone. I know you know him. So
yeah. But yeah, this year is the 50th running of that. But yeah, I feel like we could get you like plugged into all the racing stuff, right? Too, with your go-kart background and so you've got to come out for that sometime. Be great to have you.
And I need some Bob Evans in my life. That's
oh my God. Hey now. We're more than Bob Evans. I know, I do too. It's actually an inside joke in our family. But yeah.
Is it?
Bob Evans, yeah.
That's some corn. Yeah. What was that?
Some corn.
Wasn't there a commercial? Like, what does Indiana have? Corn.
We have more than corn in Indiana. That's what.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, I remember this now. Yeah.
Yep, more than corn. So more not just corn.
I love Indiana.
Got race cars too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great state.
It's a great state. Well, thank you so much for doing this, Rob. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can't thank you enough for sharing miles at Marine Corps and, spreading the word about Ainsley's Angels. It's something I care so much about. And so to have other people know that it exists and know that they can get involved, it means the world. So
thank you. If anyone listening if you see a neon yellow, neon green shirt and a group of runners running together, that's Achilles. Their favorite thing is just to say, go Achilles. If you say that, they will recognize you. And then if you see blaring hot pink on the court and some duos or wheelchairs or wheeled devices, that is Ainsley's Angels, and they love getting rooted for too. So definitely say and cheer those people on.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks, Rob. And thank you to everybody who's listened. And I always say happy running at the end. So happy running.
That. Yeah, happy running for sure. We said that earlier.
Yeah, there we
go. Well, thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode of Finish Lines and Milestones from Sandy Boy Productions, please share, rate, review. If you're new here, please subscribe. I would love to have you join us week over week. But actually, if there's one thing that you do after this, go check out Ainsley's Angels and Achilles International and consider giving back to the running community through those organizations. I'm telling you, it is the best way to experience a race. You will not regret it. Thank you again to Amazfit and Cure for supporting this podcast. Next Wednesday will be the recap of my recent race and my coach's race in Tokyo, so you don't want to miss that. And then I'll see you with a regular episode next Friday, the 13th. Thanks again.